Welcome to the Living Connected podcast. I'm your host, Mallory Meyer, a multi-six-figure entrepreneur, founder of White Wolf Reiki, and a former corporate HR professional turned polyvagal-informed leadership and neuro coach, Reiki master, educator, and international speaker. In this podcast, we explore the intricate connection between our nervous system and our performance, productivity, and well-being. I'm here to guide organizations, leaders, and founders in enhancing performance, fostering a psychologically safe workplace, and building teams with high retention that thrive. Let's future-proof your business, raise team morale, and prevent burnout. Join me weekly as we tap into discussions around regulating the nervous system, rewiring the mind, and enhancing wealth and success, with a splash of my love for energy healing and magic woven in as well. Here's to choosing to live more connected. Anyone else's January just happened to feel like a year instead of a month? I know for myself, it was quite an unbelievable month with regards to everything that was really seeding itself, laying strong foundations, and truthfully, for anyone in their business cycles and seasons that are moving through the pivot that I have chosen to go forward with last year, as I've shared in previous episodes, just being so honest in the sense that there are going to be a lot of emotions that surface. And sometimes we can get very caught and bring ourselves deep into those emotions. Whereas other times we may recognize, I can acknowledge it, I can see it here, I can process and work with it and observe it and bring that grace and compassion for what it is. But I also don't need to create meaning out of this, and I can leverage it to move. And I just felt very called to bring this up because I see the other side of that coin getting placed where we believe sometimes that we need to spend a lot of time in working through those emotions and identifying it and healing it, and then preventing ourselves from taking that action. And that's almost where we miss this beautiful unfoldment where opportunities and growth and that next level can truly come in and be with us. Let this be a testament to it, because there has been so many deep bounds of emotions of anger, frustration, sadness, disappointment, you name it, those quote unquote like lower vibrational frequencies, but still seeing some of the most beautiful opportunities, expanding moment, client wins, opportunities with even new client and partnerships unfolding through it. So there gets to be both. And just to, again, this wanted to be shared for someone tuning in today, and very much I see you, and I am just witnessing you in your journey, knowing that you're not alone as well. That being said, part of that, the way that I ended last week's episode was making note of something really exciting that has unfolded. And that's essentially officially announcing that I am a sponsor for the Meant for Magic event, which is happening in April. And I'm so esteemed and looking forward and honored to be sponsoring this event. If you are curious, there are a few spots open with this specific event. I don't want to share all the details and make this episode about that, obviously, but if you are an entrepreneur, especially looking to work through somatics and mindset and business principles, this is a beautiful event for you. So feel free to reach out in my DMs to explore if this would be a fit for you to join as well. Now, moving into this actual episode and what I felt really called this week to bring forward, more so in harnessing a concept that really shifted the way that I approach not only being an employee, but when I'm working with leaders and when I'm working even with founders, clients in their business, the whole spectrum. This concept that has been coined by Deb Dana, which is known as glimmers, has been really profound, going back into those feelings that may not necessarily be the most ideal for us to hold space for us to lean into, but also ways of which we can start to retrain our brain and bring in and shift our physiology instantaneously. the more repetition that is brought in finding our glimmers. So we're going to talk about glimmers today, what that really even entails and can be invoked into your day to day while starting to support you in retraining your brain. This is all bringing back that connectedness while also giving you a more grounded understanding into the stories and narratives that you are perceiving, that you are taking in each and every moment of your day, and starting to really witness that, of course, our human brain is essentially has a negativity bias. So already we are kind of working on an uphill battle because our brain also wants to take the course of least resistance all the time to preserve our energies. And this is really where, when we are looking for those glimmers, it may take some extra work at first. It may feel a little challenging and even a lot of discomfort for some to be able to hold that. But the profound, when you really take the moment to implement and let yourself soak in these glimmers, I have no doubts that you will start to really see a shift not only in your own environments, your realities, but in the who of who you are and your ability to navigate swiftly these circumstances, these experiences where you don't need to create as much meaning as you may be right now. And I want to share with you this metaphor that I always remind myself of when it comes to retraining the brain, and especially around seeking out these glimmers each and every day at different moments of time in our environment. So, for instance, there is a big grassy cattail meadow, and in this meadow, there is one direct path that you have continued to walk, that you have continued to take. So, therefore, there has been a lot of tread on that path. It's very clear and distinguished through the tall grass, through these tall cattails, how to navigate yourself through this vast meadow. Now we are going to carve a new path, which, of course, is going to take more discomfort in navigating through and kind of moving through that tall grass, those cattails again. But the more that we can start to shape that new path, the more comfort will come, the more that we will be inclined to choose not just one, but we have a choice to make where we can now deviate to this other side of the path. And that is what you are doing when you reinforce essentially glimmers into your day. When we take this time to recognize and even feel this shift, it is so important to at least hold this visceral experience for yourself with a glimmer of at least 10 seconds to really feel that integration of that form, not only of the neural pathway, but really within your body to be able to shift that physiology of your own. And then we can start to see how our state, now the story that we may have initially held that could have been a trigger for us, even, can be reframed. And we can regain that level of control and our ability to respond to our emotions. So, this is really the impact that it can begin to unfold in our mental health, in our mental fitness, and reshaping again our experiences, our realities, our relationships, and so forth. And glimmers can look unique for each individual. Just to begin, like cues of safety are a huge element of glimmers as well. Whereas for me, an example would be the gratitude that I have for having pets. They help me not only regulate, but they also invoke a deep sense of love, of joy, of gratitude. So having the ability to connect in with them. Anytime when I'm talking about even the word triggers, this is more of the visceral and the response within our body of perhaps overwhelm, stress, anxiety, but even a sense of maybe withdrawn elements in our own state of being in a relationship, dissociation, anger, and bringing ourselves back again into regulation. This can also just simply look like, depending what state that you may be in, getting up and moving, whether that is gentle movement like a walk, even getting out in nature to really start to cling on to those glimmers. Maybe it's just a peak of the sunlight. Maybe it is a beautiful element in the foliage, in the flowers. wherever you may be in the world that you can hold on to ever so briefly. This could also just look like even shaking. And in that shaking, maybe because then you could need a little bit more mobilized energy. In shaking, being part of that, also the release, but the gratitude in your body. So there's so many different cues that we can start to associate and find and seek out when we set that intention of holding space for glimmers in our life. Regulation is all about show, not tell. And this is because your nervous system does not understand a verbal language because it doesn't reside where your verbal thinking, your prefrontal cortex in your brain is. It lives near your body. And this is why we can learn a lot of things, but it doesn't necessarily affect or change our lives. And so, very much about regulation being in the show, not the tell. We need to show our bodies, we need to show our minds these visceral experiences, these moments to really sink into the emotions, to the feelings, and have that experience so we can get into that driver's seat of our nervous system to start to see it change everything. And it also gives us understanding and compassion to what may be happening in the individual systems of each individual that we are interacting with, which is why this is so, so profound, going back into understanding the fluency in the language of your nervous system, but your states and resources that you can effectively tap into to start to realign your physiology to your goals, to your intentions, and broadcast not only safety within yourself for others to have that felt experience and co regulate with you, but very much be in a place and in a position to communicate effectively, to actually live purposefully, and to also have a greater sense of self regulation in your emotional control and working through your ability to hold greater levels of stress without necessarily shutting down here. When you actually apply the work that I share, especially within, again, this is more on the one-to-one context, but of course within my trainings with leaders for teams in organizations to help to create cultures that are rooted in well-being where you get to see the byproduct of greater levels of retention, of productivity, of social engagement amongst others for team cohesion, and then, of course, the beautiful end byproduct being profit. So, if you have been curious to learn more, there is a link in the show notes in your opportunity to book a call to at least start to explore, for one, if it's a mutual fit, and also really get to know my proven framework and process and guiding others through this work and how I go about these uniquely customized trainings and workshops for organizations as well. This is a journey where we create empowerment in your own capacity, where we bring your adult self to younger parts and start to really shift not only the narrative, but also the rewiring of your attachments. So we can really foster secure attachment because time is not linear and we are really able, through a lot of the subconscious modalities and the energetics that I bring and infuse together, we can really start to see how we can reshape that experience and create a new meaning with it. But most importantly, how we can start to make choices based on truth and not survival because of the way that you have enhanced your ability to stabilize, to rewire, to regulate your nervous system. This is the foundation to everything that you are experiencing, creating, and ultimately witnessing in that reality of who you are being. So I can't wait to continue to take this forward for you. And I'd love to hear from you. What is a glimmer that you continually come back to each and every day that's supporting you moving forward to start this reshaping of your neural pathways as well? Of course, this will bring in more calm, more presence, and most of all, more connectedness to your life, to your business, to your relationships. I am so grateful, as always, to have you here. I always look forward to hear from you, to hear any feedback. And outside of the leadership one-to-one coaching, the trainings and workshops, the speaking engagements that I extend, there is availability right now within my upcoming online Reiki certification courses. If you have been curious about bringing in this form of healing with this modality to your life, whether you choose to bring this forward for personal reasons or even for an opportunity to enhance your services in your business, feel free to explore more in the links below. And until next week, stay regulated. Let me just take a moment to share something that has truly elevated my mornings and helped me start my day on a greater, calm, focused, even with a punch of veggies note. I've integrated Plant People gummies into my morning routine, and their products have become an essential part of my self care. What I really find sets Plant People apart is their commitment to quality and transparency. It's a natural and plant based approach to self care that aligns perfectly with my values. But the greatest part about it is whether it's been a tea, a gummy, or even their spreads, they don't compromise on taste. So, who doesn't like treating yourself to a moment of indulgence while nourishing your well being? And I do have something special for you, the listeners here. Plant People is offering an exclusive discount. You can use the code MALMEYER, and I should say it's mal.meyer at checkout to enjoy 15% off your order. You won't want to miss this opportunity, and you can find those full details in the link in the show notes below.